No better? Huh?
Mm-hmm.
A little more.
Yeah, bring. It looks good in the camera. It looks good in the camera.
Good. All right. All right. I'd like to say good evening first off to my guest today, Bro.Obi.
Good evening. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
And I'd like to welcome you to How I Came Into the Truth. As you know, this is something where we, try to put our experience out there for other people to be able to look at these different interviews and hopefully get some type of encouragement and motivation, to be able to continue on in this walk. Just knowing that they're not the only one that happen to face these different obstacles. So before we get started, I just like to always give my guests an opportunity to introduce themselves, state your name and where you're from.
My name is Obi, Obi Na Ojuku. I was born in California. Both my parents are Nigerian, so I was born in California. 2 weeks later, I was in Nigeria. Before I was 2, I came back. About when I was 2, I came back to the States. So I lived in the Bay Area most of my life till I was 16. When I was 16, I moved to Georgia.
Oh, okay. So with that being said, I looked at, over some information and stated that you were one of 5 children.
I had three older sisters and then a little brother.
Okay. Yeah. And how was that coming up?
It was like my father used to always say, like, he just always used to drill it in me. There was importance in being the first boy. And I didn't really used to understand why exactly he would always say that. But he always used to say, it's important that you're the first son. He always used to say that to me. And I used to think, well, what about my sister? She was the first girl. Like I'm talking about my oldest sister. Like, she's the first girl. So where is the importance in that? But he would always kind of tell me, he would always tell me not to worry about that so much, but I should focus on the fact that I was the first son and that it meant something.
Okay. Well, give me 1 second. I want to check and make sure we got sound. Okay. Yeah, we good. All right. Okay. All right. So you say your father would always try to point out to you being the first boy. So where are you at? As far as the siblings are concerned, like you number second 4. Number 4?
I'm number 4.
And okay, so you were the first boy.
First boy.
So it was 3 girls first, and then
3 girls, and then me, and then my little brother.
Okay. Are they still alive today?
Yeah, my sisters are still alive. 2 of my sisters live in California. 1 lives over here.
What about your brother?
My brother lives in California.
Oh, is that right? Oh, okay. So they mainly stayed over there.
Me and my brother and my mom were the only ones that came down here initially. But then my brother went back and my sister came down here. And just like that, my dad still staying in Nigeria.
Oh, he does? Oh, okay. You ever get a chance to go back over and visit?
I haven't been there. I haven't been there in over about 10, 11 years.
Oh, so that's the last time you saw him?
No, he came. I saw him this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've seen him recently.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So, you consider yourself a pretty good kid growing up?
Yeah, for the most part. I knew the difference between right and wrong. I say that. Like, when I was little, like, this funny. Like, my mom told me when I was real little, she said, you might not listen to me, you might not listen to your daddy, but you better listen to that book. And she was talking about the Bible.
Really? So they kind of instilled some fear.
And what's funny is now I can't, if I tried to show them some things it says, they'll look at me like, oh, you gotta listen to that. So it's just.
Wait a minute. The same people that told you to listen to it, now that you're listening to it, they don't want you to listen to it.
It's like they're like, they'll tell me I'm interpreting it, and I'll be like, but it says it right here. flip page, it says it right here. Flip page, it says it right here. Still be like, nah, that's done away with.
So I guess they didn't mean listen to the book literally.
I can't tell you exactly what they meant when they said it. It's just funny that they said it and come back around full circle. Like, I'm gonna get them one day.
Yeah, one day, man. One day. Well, speaking of that, the book, you know, I see you kind of was brought up in the church a little.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, since yeah, for the most part, we didn't miss a Sunday. Like if we like, there had better be a reason that we weren't going to church on Sunday, and it wasn't going to be the whole family not going to church on Sunday. It would just be whoever had the reason that they weren't going to church. But for the most part, the whole family was in church every Sunday.
Well, let me ask you something. Now, is your father from Nigeria?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so him being from Nigeria, because I think in the questions that I sent over to you, you said your father would always tell you to remember your heritage and that you represented something, right? So when I saw that, I guess I kind of thought your father was more so kind of trying to tell you who you were, but probably didn't know, being over there in what we call the motherland, right?
Right.
So just thinking about that, and then I saw that you went to Vacation Bible School, went to church every Sunday, right? So was it almost like your dad kind of tried to tie to some things in the motherland, but at the same time, y'all being in California kind of just went along to get along in a sense?
Yeah, for him more so, I feel like for me, because for him, he has a tie to Nigeria. Not that I don't have the same tie because I'm his son,
right?
But if you drop me over there right now, I'd be shell shocked in the sense I wouldn't just be able to navigate. My dad would be perfectly fine if you dropped him in Nigeria because he could speak the language. Right. That's his culture. Wow. That's what he knows. You know, he has work over there. He has business over there. He has land over there. He has his life is over there. So it's a little different than my life. So whereas me, I'm not. Like, it's ironic because, like, when I first started, like, getting into this with, like, certain people and I started, like, seeing certain videos, I would see, okay, Igbos are the real Jews. Igbos are the real Jews. Igbos are the real Jews. And since I was little, like, it's funny, when I was little, it told me, and like, there were a lot of things that came back from when I was little. Like, I was circumcised on the 8th day.
Okay.
Like, and I was just like, you know, what does that mean? They told me that, and then I read that.
Okay.
You know, so I was like,
you read it later on in life?
I read it later on in life. I was like, okay, so why this happen to me? You know, why is it? My dad was just like, this is just our custom. This is what we do. And so what's funny is like the last few, maybe 5, 6 years, like I've been trying to tell my parents, you know, my parents have been looking at me kind of crazy. I've calmed down a little bit, so they calmed down looking at me crazy. I've been trying to tell my parents, like, nah, we the real Hebrews. Like, that's who we are. And so my mom, my dad, I just have, like, been all over the place with that. But recently I asked my dad, I was like, so where did Igbos come from? Where did the culture come from? And he told me, he said, they say that we're the descendants of Israel. And I looked at him like, all this time you've been calling me crazy, like this last 5 years, and this is what you've known from when you were little? Like, this isn't the new thing. This is what you're saying. They've told me, as if you've known it like for a long time. I'm not bringing you something new. Right. You're just looking at me like I'm crazy because I'm bringing this to you. So
that even goes back to, because like you said, when you asked him about being circumcised on the 8th day, he said that was y'all custom.
That's just the custom.
Wow.
Yep.
That's amazing. and it really just goes to verify to a lot of people that Israel, you know, we're not just located in one area. We all over scattered. The world. Yeah, scattered. And some of our people, even like when the Lord came, when he told them not to go to the Gentiles, what goes to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. That was all relative to in that vicinity, you know. So most of us that over here in America and South America and Bahamas and Caribbean and stuff like that, those were the ones that got shipped off on slave ships,
right?
You know, but we still have people that are still over there,
right?
You know, and that's amazing you say that.
Yeah. It really blows my mind when I think about it because it's too specific.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know if any other culture circumcised on the 8th day, but that one in particular is real specific. Like, you didn't, like, these don't click. Like, okay, they might be the same. They might be, why do you do this? Where did this come from? And then when I asked that question, you know, where are they from? He said, they say. In my head, I'm like, who is they? Like, where you get this? Like, where you get this idea from if you still doing customs regarding that all these years later from when you heard they say, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
We had our son circumcised on the 8th day too.
Really? Afternoon.
We didn't know.
You didn't know.
We didn't know. and we tried to get it done immediately. We asked my dad to pay for it. You know, this is when we were struggling, right?
Right.
And asked my dad to pay for it, and he wouldn't pay for it. He said, y'all just wait. And it just so happened that we waited, and it happened on the 8th day when he got circumcised.
Wow.
So I look back now, 21 years ago, because that's how old he is. 21 years ago, the Lord had already had a plan. He set it up, you know, indirectly. We didn't even know about it, but the Lord knew, and he knew how this thing was going to unfold. But that's our custom, you know.
Oh yeah,
that's our custom.
Next special.
So with that being said, how old were you when you actually got introduced to the truth? Like okay, because I know coming up, you know, your father, like I say, kind of had that as a backbone, being from Nigeria. But being in California, going to church every Sunday, that's almost a far cry from, you know, any type of, you know, our heritage in any way, shape, or form. You know what I'm saying? So what made you question? Did it have anything to do with what your father would tell you, or?
Well, not really. It had to do with like things going on in my life at the point in time. So I left, you know, I bucked and rebelled a little bit probably when I got older, you know, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, you know. And I remember I had this poster that said coexist. I don't know if you've seen it. Yeah,
yes. That's like and they have all the different
religious symbols. And I used to think like I had taken what was it? Was it an ethics class? It might have been an intro to philosophy class. But there was this dude that went to my church in Georgia. Like, it was a Baptist church in Douglasville. He went to my church and he was in the college class. And the teacher, she was talking about Christianity. And she was telling him, you know, the church, the Bible didn't begin with Christ. And in my head, my ears perked up. I just remember that, like, yes, it did. And the white boy, I'll never forget, he was like, actually, the Bible did originate with Christ. And she was like, actually, it didn't. And she was like, show me where Christ was before Matthew. You know, show me where Christ was. And at this point in time, I didn't have no answer. I didn't have the answer to the question. Like, so that one stuck with me like, dang, so are you telling us they were manipulating us before? So I started getting into like, think about things like the Illuminati, questioning things like what's going on with the world. Like in 2015, when all the blood moons and stuff was going on, I was like, you know, real nervous about that. I was just real nervous, like about 2012. Like a lot of stuff had me real just nervous. But what's funny is like I was with, you know, Chris, and so we was in the same apartment. And what's funny is we used to hear like a whole bunch of, not even just here, just a whole bunch of crazy stuff used to happen to us. Like just a whole bunch of like weird stuff. Like I remember we were sitting, I was sitting on the couch. He he was playing the game, and all of a sudden the sink just turned on. And I remember looking at him and then going to turn off the sink, and then sitting back down. And I remember the water just came on again. And I remember Chris called out Dre, because we had somebody else that used to be in the apartment, so he would always be in there. And I looked, I was like, bro, that wasn't Dre. And I went and turned it off again, and I just looked at him, and he was looking at me, and we both just shook our head and let it go. But in our head, I don't know, like when we came back to it later on, it was like clearly something was trying to remind us of something. We used to hear sounds like banging, and then one day, one of our homeboys, he had, to this day, we still really can't tell you what happened, but he just like kind of, I can't even tell you what happened. He just had like, his mind just like, I don't know. He just started yelling. He started like yelling at us. He said we was about to attack him. He kept like looking at us like we were about to attack him. So, like, what's funny is like we both are looking like, bro, what are you talking about? And all of a sudden he like, he was just wilding. He was just wilding, and we stopped him. Basically, the police came to like 6 police officers to like get him down and like calm down. They took him to the hospital, and like to this day we still look at each other like we still don't know what that was. But like after a while, like I'll never forget it. I was in 2013. I was in jail for some BS, and my mom, I was talking to my mom, and my mom told me to call Chris, and she was like, I don't know what's going on, but you sound really excited. So, and it's funny because even back then, because of what my mom told me, I did always have a Bible. I had a Bible with me, so there would always be parties in my house, and I'll never forget, there was a party one time, and I just had my Bible out. And somebody walked in and was like, you reading the Bible? And just with everything going on. And I don't even know what possessed me to just I don't even remember what I was reading, but I just would have the Bible open randomly. Like, so Chris used to see that. And so when I called him.
And at this time, how old were you?
Me, I'm 20, I'm probably 21. Wow. 21, 22.
So at this point, you guys getting ready to take a journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
So when I called him, he sounded real excited. I was like, bro, what's going on? He's like, bro, like, just know it. Because he didn't know I was out there until he called my mom. So he's like, bro, just know everything is fine. Like, but you were right. God is real. And he's like, and I love you. When he said that, I was so thrown because if you knew Chris back there, that wasn't a phrase that came out of his mouth. So I was
with the God is real part.
No, I love you. Just
okay.
Right, love you too. Take care, right? Hung up the phone, but that just kept down like that. He was just like, God is real, and so like fast forward years down the line, a whole bunch of stuff happened. But like in 2016, like. He found out about the Sabbath, like, and it took me a while to learn. Like, the more you are like doing the law, the clearer it becomes.
Right.
Like, right. So back when in 2016, when he found out about the Sabbath, he was like, he would Google it and say that, you know, whatever the time it was, like whatever the time Google said, that's the time. So I remember I was helping like
6 p.m.
Mm-hmm. I was helping a friend move her washing machine and dryer, and this was the first day he had like did this to me. But it was like 6:50 and sun is still clearly out. Like, but CJ had Googled it. It was Friday, 6:15. He just dropped. We was both carrying it. He just dropped the washing machine. Doom. I'm sitting here like, that was the first time like it was like okay, like boundary, because we used to like it's funny, like out of all the friends I had, like me and CJ can fight about stuff and be straight, you know. So like that was something we had fought over, like the Sabbath. And it's funny because he got me to see it. Like, it took a second, but he got me to see it. But yeah, I used to buck on the Sabbath, but when the Sabbath, finding out in 2016, 2017, that's when I really would say, like, I found out about the word. Like, coming into like what the word is.
And at that time, you were about 24?
Mm-hmm.
24 around that time?
24.
Okay. So that's good, you know, and I say that because, you know, just being at a young age like that, you know what I'm saying? As opposed to having to, you know, just go around the world to your 40s and 50s, man, trying to find answers. You know, but it's crazy though, man, how it was kind of in your face a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know, it was in our face a lot of it. I'll tell you, it was in our face where we just, I don't know, I was just too like simple-minded to get it, or what. But it was like, and it is fairly simple. Like,
it is simple. I think what happens is like, and I say it's in your face because you're dad, right? And he probably didn't know much, you know what I'm saying? But still, okay, you still kind of tied back to home, you know, back to, I mean, Nigeria is even though it's not Israel, it's way better than what we got going on over here. You know, it's a whole lot closer to Israel. But at the same time, man, when you get that false doctrine put in there, I mean, it waters down everything.
Right.
Any inclination of trying to find out the truth, anything, man, it's like, it's hard to see it until you have somebody like Chris or somebody come your way. And it's funny, you know, you start with the Sabbath because that's where I started at. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people start with the Sabbath, which is if you can't start with the Sabbath, then you know you're probably not gonna be able to move further.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You have to start there. So
it's like the one law that's like purely obedience. Yeah. The Sabbath. Like the other one is like, even though like they all obey, you know, but that one's like, you know, yeah, honor your father and mother, which there's a person that gets clearly
right. In other words, you may get mad and say something wrong to your mama or your daddy out of anger.
Because you got mad.
Because you got upset.
Right.
But you can't afford to get mad. Right. Okay, I'm mad you are.
Right.
Exactly. That is direct.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. That's just like, do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I be wondering about it, like, because even the order of things, like the way God ordered things, like that was the fourth commandment. That was a transition into like love your neighbor.
Yeah.
You
absolutely.
Know? So I you know, it just things that stick in my head.
Well, with that start right there, and that's a great point because, you know, going back to how we talk a lot about no matter what's going on, just keep it sad.
Right.
You know, because you'll be, like you say, it kind of goes into loving your neighbor. You know what I'm saying? Coming from loving God, going right into loving your neighbor, starting with the Sabbath. If you having these issues or you having areas where you messing up at, you know, you come to church on the Sabbath, you'll be able to refill, get learn and get better understanding and try it again over those next 6 days. You know, so yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So making that, you know, well, first and foremost, once you talked to Chris, did you actually, how long did it take you for you to do it? And for y'all to actually find out the right time frame?
For me to do what?
Because if you say you guys were doing it at 6:15, right?
Yeah.
So when did you find out it wasn't at 6:15?
Nah, because when we started coming here. When we started coming here.
So y'all was doing it when Chris first came in. He was still doing that 6:15.
No, I came in the first day. The first day me and CJ
y'all came together.
Yeah, the first day we came together.
Okay. So y'all were doing it up until that time.
Yeah,
6:15.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But we might have found out from a video because at first we was watching just the videos.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the first day we came, I never forget, Elijah was here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I remember looking at it like, this is like YouTube, just like watching YouTube. But nah, the first day we came, Elijah was here. But I think by then we had kind of figured it out. But we might have still even asked while we were here. We might have still not known completely about the sun going down and it being the new day,
right,
at that point in time.
Right.
Like,
well, you know, and mostly everybody knows that we're dealing with the word, especially you having to change your lifestyle up, start keeping the Sabbath and stuff like that. That's not common,
right,
and it goes against tradition. Especially if you're going to church every Sunday, right?
right.
So, what type of obstacles, or did you face any obstacles when you came into the word? Like, because that's almost guaranteed. Some people may escape it, but it's almost guaranteed you're gonna run into something. What type of stuff
I
did you have?
definitely heard. I'm still hearing like you in the cult, like just the whole like you don't really. Jesus didn't. Jesus wanted you to be free.
Grace.
So to be honest, I don't even know exactly what, because if you substitute the sins, the conversation would change. If you substitute the Sabbath for murder, like, oh no, you're supposed to keep the Sabbath. Like, oh no, you're not supposed to murder. It's a simple, like, it's simple when you say it like that, but the Sabbath, like, God did away with that. We can worship God any day of the week. And so, like, it's still coming in the obstacles, even with my own self, like, not getting irritated with people. Like, when people bring up, like, God, when people bring up God, knowing exactly, like not wanting to just call people liars, but still knowing who God is and that he don't work the way everybody say he work.
Right.
It like keeping myself in subjection, not getting mad at that, because I be getting frustrated with it. I was just talking to Cephas about like how just have mercy on people, because it's so. Once upon a time we was in the dark.
Yeah.
Once upon a time we didn't know any better. Yeah. Like, the things that make God mad we would do. So I can't be mad at everybody for doing it when they don't even know. They didn't come into knowledge of what you came into knowledge of, so they're not that blessed. So like it is important to have mercy on folks, because God had mercy on me.
He did. You gotta give them some time, and really just boil down to them being able to look at you and see how you carry yourself. You know what I'm saying? I think was it Cephas? I was talking to it might have been Cephas, somebody the other day. We were talking about how people that's not in the word, and us being in the word, you don't want to really. The more you get understanding, I think it might have been me and you before your mother-in-law came. It might have been me and you or me and Cephas, but we're just talking about how you don't want to force it down people's throat.
That was me.
Yeah, you don't want to force it down people's throat. And I just remember another conversation talking about how the way you live, the way you carry yourself, that may be the only Bible people ever get to read, because the stuff that you're doing comes out of the Bible, so you don't necessarily have to force it down their throat, especially being the one that got the keys to the kingdom. You know what I'm saying? Like I know what it takes to get you in the kingdom, man. So I ain't got to chase you,
right?
Right. But like we say, man, the more and more times pick up, the more and more people gonna start humbling, looking for understanding, humbling themselves to the word of God, and that's what you just got to be prepared for. So, but yeah, everybody, go through that. The main one is being in the cult. And one reason people like to tie us to being in the cult is because we find out that we Israel. And even if you're a Gentile, you find out, who the Israelites are, and you happen to follow their God, you're going to get the same ridicule we get.
Right.
Because it goes against the norm.
Right.
But you coming up, not necessarily knowing the truth, because clearly, dealing with Sunday worship, but you coming up or coming in the word, finding out that we are Israel, how did that help you understand the Bible? Because before that, if you don't really know who the people are, you kind of like look at the Bible and it's like a big puzzle. So what happened when you found out who the people were in the Bible?
Like, how I said, like, there were certain things I read way back when that would just like show itself up back now. So like you know, even though like everybody's always saying, there's another thing that got me because I was probably still struggling with the dietary law at the same time I found out about the Sabbath too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What part of the dietary law? I gotta ask.
Just not caring. Just not. I'm allergic to seafood, but just not really thinking God had intended that we don't eat stuff. It wasn't like because I wasn't really like that big a fan of like ham and stuff. Yeah, right. But I just like just not caring like that God had said don't eat that.
Right. So you almost kind of looked at it like, man, God ain't tripping on this.
Exactly.
Really?
Exactly.
Some food?
Exactly.
Okay. Wow.
Exactly. So when I came to remembrance like about the story of Noah, like and the dietary law, how it was way back. Because I remember, I don't even know why I remember it. Like it popped in my head, like, dang, I do remember them saying 7 clean and 2 unclean. Why do I keep remembering 2 and 2? Why do I always remembering just 2? And that's because in like movies and pictures and stuff, they always just had at church. They always had 2. But I remember and it's funny because my parents were African, so we did like African type traditions. We had we would wake up at 5 a.m. every morning, praise and worship, read the Bible, and pray.
Every morning?
Every weekday morning, Monday through Friday.
Are you serious?
Yep, right before school. So before all of this, like that's where I remember reading it from. Like reading like they took like 7 of the male, 7 of the female. Like I don't know why that stuck with me. Like so, not stuck with me, but it came back like that was before Leviticus.
Yeah,
like that was
Genesis.
That was before Leviticus. Right. So that means it was already in play.
Yeah.
So I started seeing like that would make sense. How I like you think Jesus did away with something, but it was already in play. Like so, I started trying to figure that out because that's what I always learned. Like I was told the Bible don't have no contradictions, and then meanwhile the world would tell me the Bible did have contradictions. But way back when, you know, my mom let me know the Bible was like airtight. Like you don't have to worry about these words. Like these words are something you can take comfort in. And so, like, it was funny because, you know, I was taught that I could eat whatever, but then like coming into that, I realized, okay, God put this law way back in the beginning. Then like when I came into like remembrance, like the first one was let there be light. That's what on the first day he said, let there be light. And in my head, I always like just said, okay, the sun. Or like I would try and like say like, okay, science and Christianity were the same thing. So this is me just in the world being foolish, like not really realizing that that's just not true. Right. So I said, okay, the world calls it the Big Bang Theory, but that was God creating the world in 6 days. So when he said, let there be light, that was a Big Bang. In my head, that's how I just like the coexist supposed to try to make them all seem like they fit together. But God made the sun on day 5. Day 4. Yeah, day 4. So I was sitting there like, okay, no, but that's the sun. So what is he talking about with light? Right. And then John 1:1 or John 1. Wow. And I was like, things just started clicking the more and more I started focusing on it. And so really, I think that was it. Like there was a lot of like problems that came from like the church, like going to church, but really I think it helped more than it hindered because they were so strict on like you need to know the word and things of the word popped up, and I'm also willing to be like, okay, well, where does it say that? Let me go find that. Right. Like, let me see that. When I'm seeing it, then I can be like, okay, it says it there. I'm not just gonna listen to what wherever says what. Right.
But that's good because, and you know, it's almost like a catch-22 going to church traditionally, right? But because, like for example, this past Sabbath, it was a brother that came to church. Two of the brothers go here brought a friend, and come to find out, this brother don't have no Bible understanding at all. At all. Right. So somebody like that, you know, we just gotta take our time and feed them. You know what I'm saying? Baby steps, right? But at the same time, you got people that
word they hold life,
and then they come into the truth, and then all that stuff start making sense. It didn't make sense like when you was going there, which a lot of times is what caused you to question anyway, because it don't make sense. And then when you come to the truth, you start putting it all together. You got the right people in the right place, and then okay, the creation. You can understand what that light is, like you said, John 1. You know what I'm saying? It started making sense. It all tied together, but you kind of have that foundation instilled in you as a child coming up and with those type of parents.
No, I definitely think that helped because they were definitely real strict on like reading it. It wasn't just like go listen. Right. It was like go read. So that wasn't that. I definitely think that was more helpful than hurtful than my parents did that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, because that kind of puts some fear in you, man. Yeah. You may not know at the time what you're doing, may not understand, but it in a case like that, it is a book of morals and values. You don't really find out it's a history book until later on down the line.
Right.
But those morals and values still keep you. That's like I say, even in the world, I still feared the Bible. I still feared.
Right.
I couldn't go completely crazy because I still feared God, and you know what I'm saying.
So you couldn't tell me anything was wrong with the Ten Commandments. You couldn't tell me, or there was nothing you'd be able to tell me. So it was and then getting into the truth. The first 4 started making more sense. Before that, I knew don't murder, don't steal, don't lie. Those ones just make sense automatically. Don't do that. You don't want somebody doing that to you.
Right.
But that first 4, it took I would think GD is using the Lord's name in vain.
Yeah. All of us did. Yeah.
And I swearing to him, and that's when you really realize it it's a click. Oh, okay, using the Lord's name in vain is acting like you are for the Lord, meanwhile you're not.
Right.
Meanwhile you're
misrepresenting.
You're misrepresenting the Lord, and that makes clearer sense than if you use a curse word.
Right.
Absolutely. Even the graven images and having another God before me, it makes more sense once you start realizing that your point in life is to fear God and keep His commandments.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, it just that walk is really it makes it clearer and clearer. It's almost like the words make more sense once you start doing them.
Right.
You gotta jump
once
before
you start doing it.
Then it's easy, you walk. Man. Yeah, then it becomes simple. Okay, this is a good way to teach my kids. This is a good way. There is no harm from this. I'll be thinking about it if on the Sabbath evening, if everybody if the world just shut down, how many murders go on Friday night?
Right, a lot.
If the Sabbath evening, everybody shut down, it'd be
so it'd probably be 50 to 60% at least. A lot more peaceful than it is now.
And that's just the Sabbath. That's just the Sabbath day.
That's just the Sabbath, yeah.
That's one commandment.
Yeah. Because the whole world keep the Sabbath, man, murder's gonna cut down
drastically.
Yeah.
So it's just
that's when people get crazy on Friday night.
That's when people go in.
Especially us.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So how has it since you came into the word, what would you say it has done for you as far as impacting your life?
I would say it's giving me the guideline for how to live. Before, even though I was told, your heritage is important, your culture is important, and I wanted to continue my heritage is important, I didn't get exactly how important that was.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get exactly what kind of guidelines were being set. And that makes me go back to my dad and still ask him more and more, well, what are some other customs that we have, just to see how it lines up with certain things. But also just it gives me a moral set of values, a set of values that I can move by. I work in a school, so with the kids that I work with, that sense of morals I can be able to explain to them without even saying the word. Like, don't lie, don't steal, don't attack each other, don't have hate towards this person. Like, simple things like that can translate into like the regular world, and like that's been real, like invaluable. Like being able to like tie in like my values to like
the world,
what is good.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's kind of like indirectly, people live by the book and don't even know it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That's why we, like in Romans 2, it talk about that natural law. You know what I'm saying? That the Gentiles have, not having the law,
right,
like Israel,
right,
but
they
still have the natural law. You know what I'm saying? So, like you say, the impact of being able to see it in the Bible, and actually tie it to everyday
life
situations.
Mm-hmm.
Man, you're right about that, because that's why I try to not cut the world off, but I be very mindful of who I associate with,
right,
because we live by a law.
Right.
It's almost like we live by a code, and we don't violate that code. We can't violate that code.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And if we violate the code, or we break the code or the commandments, we break it. There's a sense of guilt. You know what I'm saying? We don't look at it and just like
it don't mean nothing.
Yeah, like it don't mean nothing.
Like if I trip up, like, and it might not even, let's say like I'm trying to think of something like quote unquote minute, but what's minute when it comes to death? Like shoot, like something has, you eat some sausage that says chicken sausage, but it say encased in pork, and you didn't know that it had that. Like that's like you see somebody who knows and they do that, the look on their face is gonna be like if I just like murder somebody, it's gonna be you will be able to tell like they feel like they did something wrong just because they ate something that they didn't even know had it on them.
Right, because it's like we trying so hard to please God, man.
And we know, we know, like we know the consequences.
Yeah,
we know what the wages of sin is, even like unintentionally.
Yeah.
So it's like us genuinely wanting to serve God. That means something to us that we messed up, and we didn't like. It means something to us that we messed up. We didn't want to mess up. Like that's like the point of us living, so we don't mess up.
Yeah,
And some people might see that and hear that and be like, "Oh, well, you're trying to be perfect. You're trying to do this," but like, it's not a matter of like being perfect. It's just a matter of trying to do the right thing according to the Lord.
Well, it's the battleground, man, to make it into the kingdom. So I mean, on this battleground, like you got to win these battles, man. Mm-hmm. We gotta win this stuff, and that's why we go so hard like this,
right?
Because we trying to please our God, so we'll be worthy. People don't understand that. That's why they be getting off into cults and calling us all the names and stuff. Oh, y'all got to do all that. Like people say you can't do nothing on the Sabbath.
Yeah, sometimes that gets to me too. Because sometimes I'm like, all right, y'all. Like, I hear you. Like, I hear you. But I'm still gonna keep my Sabbath. I'm still gonna keep my Sabbath. Like, I'm still not about to do nothing Friday night. Like, I'm still not about to eat that. I'm still like I'm still gonna try and live righteously. Mm-hmm. And that's like the thing I be trying to explain. Like, I'm not trying to like force nothing on nobody. I'm not trying to like tell anybody they're like condemn anybody to hell, but I do want to represent and say the right thing so that people can't say they didn't hear it, especially for me. Right. If I'm gonna try and get in, like I would like that God knows that. I know he was warning folks for me. Like he was telling people. Right. He was telling people about who I was and that I was coming. Mm-hmm. So that's something that stick in my head a lot.
Wow. That's a good thing, man, because you're more so concerned about your own salvation, but at the same time worrying about your neighbor as well. And that's what the Lord wants us to do, man. So just understanding that, considering, the things we have to go through and have gone through dealing with the word, what advice would you have for somebody that's new coming into the word?
For somebody that's new,
just kind of take it back and when you first came in and how you went in, when you went in told your family and told your friends who might not have known about this, and the way you felt, kind of put yourself back in those shoes and how you would have, liked to move through that situation.
I would say,
or navigate.
Don't be discouraged if somebody doesn't receive you right away. I think remember the Sabbath day, because that's a day of recharge, and you get right back to it the next week, ready for the Sabbath day, like every single week. Like Leviticus 21 started making more sense that it's a weekly feast.
23.
Leviticus 23. I'm sorry, Leviticus 23. Like that it's our weekly feast. Like so it's a recharge,
right?
To get back like to it. Like so the next week. You grow every Sabbath as long as you keep the Sabbath. So I would say don't be discouraged by other people. Keep the Sabbath and stay in that word.
Right. Yeah, that's key, man. Because I see a lot of people. I see a lot of people. Man, when times get hard, man, one of the first things they want to do is just stop coming to class. And you got to have a holy convocation. But the point is that. If you're gonna make it, you're not gonna be able to make it, for the most part, without keeping God's Sabbath. I don't care what you got going on. I don't care how hard life is. One of the things that we, try to enforce to the people the most, man, just keep the Sabbath. You probably, life happens, man, and not giving an excuse, but sometimes people mess up. You know what I'm saying? And that's why we got to intercess on our behalf.
Right.
But that don't give you no reason just to quit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's great advice, man. Keep the Sabbath. Don't give up, man. So we're just thinking about this in the world we live in today with so many different religions floating around, because you got a lot of them.
Yeah.
Got a whole lot of them, right? Yeah. What impact do you think a better understanding of the Bible will have on people around the world?
That they'll start. One thing I hear from way too many people is the Bible is interpreted in so many different ways. Like, but that's a lie.
Right.
That's just a wrong statement. Like you have the Cat in the Hat. You don't interpret that 16 different ways. Like you got other books. You don't interpret that a whole bunch of different ways. Right. So why is the Bible all of a sudden one book you can interpret all kinds of different ways?
Right.
Even with all the different versions, they say different things. So you're reading different books if you think about it.
Absolutely.
So it matters like that somebody knows what they're talking about, is telling you what the Bible is saying, or at least it's teaching you when you're reading along. Because it says one thing and it means one thing. It doesn't mean a bunch of different things, even though the world likes to say it means a bunch of different things. Right. To the point where I've heard Jesus is my Sabbath. And I just where'd you read that? Like what verse is that? Where you read that at? So it like coming into understanding will help like get rid of a lot of that folly, like that. There's a whole bunch of misinterpretations of the Bible.
Yeah.
That's one thing I still like in getting into it with folks. Like, well, people interpret the Bible any way you want to. So what if your Sabbath is Tuesday? And like it's just like that's like misinterpreting the Bible. Like, and it matters like that you're talking to somebody who is constantly reading the Bible, who's constantly trying to get into the word, but you have no inclination to get into the word, but you're gonna argue the Bible with them. It's like, what?
Yeah, that's what they do.
Why are you trying to argue about a book you don't touch? You don't regularly touch because we went to Baptist church 40 years ago.
Right.
So I think just getting people to understand that it was meant a certain way. At least like the book was written a certain way. It was meant a certain way. It wasn't meant a whole bunch of different ways. The way
that's a great analogy you gave. As far as the Cat in the Hat. You read it just like it is. You know what I'm saying? But it's funny, and it's funny how like even with everybody else's history, you can read the history like it is, but by the Bible, by people looking at the Bible, and all these false prophets out here, when it comes to us, trying to read the Bible and trying to do what it says, oh, you ain't got to do that no more.
Right.
You ain't got to do that no more. It's, and your interpretation is this, my interpretation is that. But that's just a way to try to justify sin.
Yeah.
Because like you say, when it's the cat in the hat, it reads what it reads. Mm-hmm. Yeah, remember the Sabbath day, read what it reads.
Right. It don't mean
remember
like which day you want.
Yeah,
it don't mean
like Tuesday,
third day. And it was. You hear these things like people really do pick Tuesday and that's the Sabbath day for them. Like people pick Monday and that's the Sabbath day. And like even the Sunday is like when you come into understanding, you're like, still, how did you get that? You know it's Satan, but still you're like, okay, well I see how they did that. But like even Monday and Tuesday, I've been like, how?
Right, you don't got up to day 2 and 3. I can see now you mistakenly, Sunday
from tradition,
right.
over and over
understand.
Again. But that Tuesday, I was just like, man,
you straight bucking.
Yeah, straight just like I'm gonna pick a day.
Right,
this is Sabbath.
Yeah, I've heard Jesus my Sabbath dollars. I heard several people say that, to try to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
even things like I'm not here, but for the lost sheep of Israel, for the house of Israel.
Right.
Like things like that didn't make sense when I was little.
Right.
But as I got older and I'm like, okay, Israel is key from Genesis to Revelation. Israel is in there.
Absolutely.
There's some importance to that place. Mm-hmm. Zion, there's some importance to that place. These things we learn about, they start clicking once you like come into more understanding. So like as the details become clearer, the less likely you are to misinterpret it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that'll help the world out a lot, man, if they knew it.
Mm-hmm.
It goes back to what you were saying earlier, man. The murders will be cut down.
Yeah.
But eventually we're gonna get there.
Eventually,
yeah. Especially where the world going.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So we made it to this point, and if you ever seen one of these videos, you should have prepared for this question.
Dang.
It's pretty easy. Pretty simple, but still, I don't know how people still mess this question up. It's easy. What's your favorite book and scripture? And tell us why.
Favorite book and scripture?
Yes.
Dang.
Nah, you gotta.
I can tell you. Actually, my favorite chapter is Proverbs 12. And I feel like there's just so many.
Oh, so you got a whole chapter?
Yeah, I got a favorite chapter. I don't know what my favorite book is or verse. Now,
you don't know what your favorite book is?
Man, let me get this real
quick. He got to go run and get his Bible, y'all. Probably the whole Bible,
Nah, because I just feel like Proverbs 12 got so much simple wisdom in it. Like wisdom that's like, oh yeah, if I thought about that, I could have came up to that on my own. Right. Like of course God is God, so that's the reason why it came out the way it happened.
I might need to check out that Proverbs 12. Man. You said something. You said simple wisdom. Simple wisdom,
and it's like the last verse. In the way of righteousness is life, and in the pathway thereof there is no death. Wow. So I just like when I think about things like that, like what I'm fighting for. You know what I'm saying? I'm fighting for life.
Yeah,
that's what I'm fighting for. And people think that this is it. Like this is life. Like this ain't it. There's more to it than this. Like in this book, like it document all of that. And and it's simple as being righteous. It's simple as being good. That's what's gonna give you life. Like the words in this book are gonna give you life. And so like that's why I love Proverbs 12 so much, because it breaks that down so simply. Starting with like instruction and knowledge, because those are the keys you start with, So like I'm gonna have to find a book that I'm like.
No, but that's good though. I mean, well, you can think of a book while I say this. Man, that scripture though, man, it's just like it kind of take me back to children obey your parents, for for this is right. You know what I'm saying? You know, that your days may be longer. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that's that, but I just thought about, you know, like if you just look at life in general before we get everlasting life, we'd be so, you know, blessed. If you live this life right and do what you're supposed to, man, like Lord will keep you, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? For the most part, you ain't got to worry about. You don't got to worry
Too
about
much.
death and, you know, or get shot at and, you know, I mean, it happens. But I'm just saying, for the most part, you're gonna see the majority of the Lord being a little sanctuary.
Yeah.
You know, so in the way of righteousness is life, and in the pathway thereof there is no death. You know, so yeah, I like that, man. That's cold. That's cold. So you got to give me a book, man. Just give me a book that you read more often. If it's Proverbs, that's fine.
Yeah, it's probably Proverbs.
Probably Proverbs.
I just feel like if I gave you an answer, Proverbs the answer wouldn't be Proverbs. But for right now, we can say Proverbs.
Right now, we'll Proverbs. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, man, I want to thank you for taking this time out, man.
No problem.
To come share your story with us. Lord willing, we can do it later on in the future.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And just keep on pressing on, man.
Man,
thank you.
Appreciate you.
Stop it.